Good evening. Thank you for joining us for our Board of Education meeting. Mr. Flores, can you do the Pledge of Allegiance? Oh, I have no voice, I'm sorry. Mr. Kalajian.
Yes, certainly. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kalajian. On your board packets, you should have gotten the minutes from last meetings. Are there any corrections to those minutes? No corrections? So they approve as is?
Accept the minutes as submitted.
Thank you.
Okay. Sign-up sheet?
Is there a
Yes, there's one.
Mr. Carlos Correa, come on up.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So my name is Carlos Correa. I'm a resident of Willimantic. I'm a parent of 2 children in the Windham school system, and I'm also an Army veteran. Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
So, I guess I'm here because it was brought to my attention that there is a desire to implement a junior ROTC program here in our school, in the high school. And so I just wanted to, support that. Being a veteran, that shows a lot of respect to me. I cannot speak for every veteran, but I can speak about me. And, going overseas and fight 2 wars, at the same time, I went to both. I went to Iraq in 2005 and then to Afghanistan in 2007. So for me, standing up and fighting for our Constitution, our rights, for our future, right, for our kids. And, knowing that this town is just considering, this opportunity for our children is huge. It's an honor for me, actually. And that's why I came here, because going back before the military, what's helped me and still helping me in life is that I went to a program. It wasn't a junior ROTC program. It was called, in Puerto Rico, Explorer Program. It's similar to the Boy Scouts, but it was auspiciated by the Puerto Rico National Guard. So every weekend, one day of the weekend, on Saturdays, me and some of my, friends, and some of them, boys and girls, so it was open to all. We get together and we learn some military bearings, right? Some commands, some cadence, and camaraderie, right? And that for me was very meaningful. My parents supported it, especially my dad, because he was also a veteran. And my mom supported it until I decided that I would join the military. But, regardless of that, at 17, both of them signed a piece of paper that they needed to sign so I could get into the military because I was under the age. But those about 3 years, it started probably when I was in middle school in Puerto Rico, which is different than here. Over there is from 7th grade to 9th grade, so I probably started around 8th grade in Puerto Rico. Going that weekend, to meet, different kids from different areas of my, what we call el barrio, our, I don't know.
El barrio.
So, from our neighborhood, I met, guys from 2 towns over. And then over the summer, we will have this huge event from these different troops around our, island, and we did a bunch of events, and, all that helped me, gave me some leadership skills. At 14 years old, I was, a leader of a platoon. And a platoon is about, 40 kids. So that's pretty amazing. So, for me. And so it gives that, sense. It teaches you, respect. It teaches you to be selfless. That brotherhood that you can embrace in kids. You learn it in this kind of programs. I think they're very beneficial. It was certainly for me. I think I turned out pretty all right if I'm here, right? So why not give it a shot? Why not support something like this? Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks to you.
Next is Mr. Schreibner.
He's our chief firefighter.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Mark Scrivener, and I'm a Willimantic resident. I've lived here since 1999. And as you can see by my uniform, I'm the fire chief for Willimantic. When Dr. Garcia told me that you were considering a junior ROTC program for the high school, I found that to be very exciting for a number of reasons. One, I'm an Air Force veteran, and I did not go to war. And the Air Force did a lot for me. I certainly would not have the job that I have today if it was not for the Air Force. I served as an Air Force firefighter, so that translated very well into the career that I have now. Secondly, as an employer, I would love to hire Windham High School graduates that have had experience in an Air Force junior ROTC program. To me, that experience will be valuable to their career in the fire service, because we are a paramilitary style organization. So if a resume came across my desk from a Windham High School graduate that had junior ROTC experience, I would look very hard at that person as a candidate and probably take a second look as well. So I'm here to support the concept. I hope that if the program does get implemented, that my department could partner in some way with that program and help provide some support and leadership. And I'm here to offer that tonight. Thank you.
Thanks to you.
Next is Betty Wenglowski.
I can't pronounce her name.
Winglowski.
She's a teacher.
Good evening. My name is Betty Winglowski, and I'm very grateful to say that I have been employed by Windham, working at Natchog Elementary School for the past 12 years under great leadership from the back there. So I just want to say thank you for that, and a special thank you to Dr. Garcia for allowing me to come here tonight and to present and talk a little bit about the junior ROTC program. Quite a few years ago, I had a conversation with my cousin who had retired as a lieutenant commander from the Navy, and he was very excited to tell me about his new job, and he was working at Bethel High School as their new commander for their program. And as he was talking to me and sharing all the details that were involved in his job, it was just very exciting to hear about it. And I kept thinking, like, wow, why can't our students at Windham have this opportunity? Why can't they have those privileges? So I talked to my cousin today. He sent me some information, but before I share that, I do want to say this. When I think of the ROTC program, it's really not necessarily about saying our boys or our girls are going to join the military. It's giving, some of the things that the other gentlemen were just talking about. So as a mother of 3 boys who are military, I am very, very proud to be a military mom. And I know, like, some of the fears that people have that, if we have this program, then we think that our children, can't get a job unless they do this, or there's not enough money and their, parents don't have enough money. That's not true. All 3 of my boys have done military. My middle one, he did it backwards. He is a firefighter, paramedic for the city of New Haven, and now he is in the reserves. So I just want you to keep that in mind about the benefits. And so when I was talking to my cousin today, he sent me some information, and one of the things that he said is the impact on the school is significant. The military retirees who run the programs bring a can-do sense of mission accomplishment with them. He says he works collaboratively with his fellow educators to use the Navy curriculum to enhance what they are teaching. He is part of the ROTC for Navy. I know there's the Air Force, but I'm just telling you what his program has brought to Bethel High School. The program involves a great deal of service to the school and community, and much of the curriculum involves practical application, hands-on learning, and he specializes in project-based learning. Perhaps one of the greatest impacts is the effect of a small group of leaders who can have on the entire school, cadets that have on the school. It is amazing what a group of students who are trained upstanders, not bystanders, with good manners and a smile can do for the foundation of a positive school climate and a culture. Teachers and administrators can reach a plateau of achievement that makes it difficult to bridge the gap from good to very good, or even harder for very good to great. Student leaders are key to that success. The other benefit that he was talking about is the pay. Pay and benefits is a moving target. Teachers get paid based on what they would if they were active duty, minus the retirement check they already get. So if an officer is making $100,000 on active duty and is now getting $25,000 as a retiree, then the formula is 100 minus 25 equals 75. The teacher must be paid 75 by the school, but the Navy, because he is employed by the Navy, will send 50% of that to the district. So the cost per teacher in that case is $37,500 for that year, because the Navy has to pay the town. So he teaches science classes. Underneath him he has a gentleman who is a Marine, and they work very closely. And he also said one of the things that is really great is the number of law enforcement calls have cut down tremendously. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Mr. Flores?
Sorry, I forgot to sign. My name is Moses Flores. We had an issue in Nacho School, but I think I talked to the principal today. I think we fixed the problem. I talked to Ms. Dr. Garcia, Luz Suba, a week ago, last Wednesday or Thursday, and we fixed the problem. But next time, please, let us know about the problems, please. That's all I want to know. That's it. I got my kids there. We got not just my kids, all the kids there, and the parents want to know, And the issue is already taken care. Thank you very much. Yeah, I want to talk my brother. He's on the board. So congratulations, he's on the board, because I don't been here for a long time. It's my brother Juan over here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flores.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is superintendent's reports.
Thank you. And I want to thank all the members of our community that are here today, teachers, and Mark and Mr. Correa. Thank you very much for supporting the Air Force RTC program. I think is a great opportunity for our students. I have seen over the years what the armed forces can do to benefit our children. So thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. Of course, I'm going to support it anyway, right? 26 years of, Betty, you're Army mom, I am a Navy mom, and I am an Army mom and an Army wife, so good. Okay. I just want to congratulate Mrs. Kim Shushenko from the Sweeney School. She will be retiring in December, but Mrs. Shushenko has received the Physical Education Teacher Award from the state of Connecticut and for professional services, and it was well attended. Dr. Youngberg attended the reception, and we want to thank her for exemplary service, more than 30 years in Windham Public Schools. So she received that award, and she was very acknowledged by all her colleagues across the state of Connecticut. I want to thank Mrs. Lambert, Mr. Dr. Murphy, and Mrs. Osula for attending the State of the School event, and also Mark, you were here. Thank you for attending. Members of the board and other members of the community, we receive a lot of congratulations on this event, and people are looking to come back next year to hear about the school and the things that we're doing in the school. So this is really an opportunity to celebrate the great things that our teachers and our students are doing in the school. So we want to thank all of them, and central office also. The Superintendent's Award of Excellence, as you know, took place on November 29th. more than 20 members of the school district received an award, including Teachers of the Year. We want to thank Dr. Gomez, who attended, and we want to thank Ms. Janet Testa, that was key and crucial to making sure this was a major success. And I want to thank all central office members that are here. As I said before, about 20 outstanding teachers receive award, and parents receive awards also, about 9 parents, and about 20 students receive awards. So it's a great opportunity to really celebrate the great things that staff are doing, and to really say thank you. And it's nice to see not only the staff members, but also the opportunity to see members of the families that come. I am not going to read the other one. I want you to read it, but I want to make some comment. This is a congratulation to Nacho Elementary School. The students from Nacho Elementary School visited the Windham Mill Museum, and I don't receive this kind of letters all the time. This is really weird. But the director of the museum, Dr. James Evis, send me this wonderful email about congratulating Nacho students. And I believe these were kindergarten or first graders? First graders that went to the museum. Lots of accolades and congratulations. I just want to read a couple of the things that he said about them. That it was a pleasure to welcome them at the museum. That the class were very delightful, absolutely delightful, all the first graders. That they knew a lot about the frog, about the mill, more than the adults that were there. That they were extremely well behaved, and they were curious and inquisitive. And that for 6 years old, he could not believe that they have all these questions, and very important questions. And that they also could do subtraction and addition. So congratulations to all the teachers, first grade teachers at Natchog, to you, Mr. Kalajian, and to the students and to the parents. He was so proud to have them there, and so is the superintendent and the board that our students represented Windham Public School with high collars. So thank you very much. Thus, update on the budget. We are in the budget process. I believe at this time all schools have their template, and we are working on making sure that we're looking at staffing, and I'll be meeting with the principals in the next couple of weeks to go over their budget. Couple members of the board have asked me about the strategic plan, and those to give you an update. I'm not going to read all of it, but as you know, in the retreat of September 16 and 17, I explained to you that we're making some revision to the strategic plan. After a year of implementing it, we saw that we needed to make some revision, and some things that need to be more rigorous, some things need to be eliminated, some things need to change, some goals and objectives. So we are in the process. Each department chief is working with his or her own department, revising those, aligning them to their action plan per department, and we hope that this process will be completed by the end of January. November 30th, I met with all department chief except Mr. Chafin. I will meeting with him tomorrow, and so they have taken the task to meet with their department and working, so we look at that. The other information is great pleasure. I just want to echo what the members of the community say about the Air Force RTC. I think it's a great opportunity. We have been offered the opportunity to have the Air Force RTC, and I think this is a great opportunity for our students. The curriculum really provides students a great opportunity, the opportunity to extracurriculum activities, leadership opportunities, competition, field trips. But I do want to say that the mission and the vision of the RTC program is not necessarily to recruit students to enter the Air Force. The mission is to really develop citizens' character, citizens that are responsible, dedicated to their country and to their community. And I think that value of citizenship, that value of service, that value of personal responsibility and commitment is something that is needed in our youth and in our adults. And I think that's one of the benefits of having. For students, it's really a platform for success. It's really a platform for success. They gain confidence. I have seen that personally myself as superintendent over the years. They gain self-discipline, a sense of belonging, and leadership skills. I have seen so many students move from just being passive to being students of leadership. Develop sound work skills and life skills. And definitely, why not, to say, as a resume builder, as the Chief of Fire Department said a while ago. And if they choose to enlist in the military, if they choose to do so, they enter as a higher rank once they have been in the Air Force RTC. For schools, I will say is a force of good. I don't know any RTC program in this country that have not done good for any high school. As Betty said, has improved the climate, has improved the culture of every school, because they're leaders and they're partners in achieving the mission of the school. Any RTC program is a partner in that leadership of achieving the mission of the school. And something that we have not mentioned here tonight, but I think we need to mention, is, I thought I turned it off, but I guess I didn't. Here we go. Every RTC program that I know of increased the presence, community presence and engagement. Our RTC students are in the community, are engaged in the community, so you see an increased presence of community service in the community, and that's something that really, really is an accolade for the school. And they also engage with local citizens. So I do want to say that I support this program. I think it's a program that do well for our students. And I do want to say that you mentioned Bethel has it, but we also have Windsor has a program in Connecticut, and also Danbury High School has one in Connecticut.
So may I add, I just did some research because I wanted to know what districts have this type of program. So right now, the Air Force is being offered in Danbury, Naugatuck, and Norwalk.
And Windsor.
And Windsor.
Windsor.
The Army is being provided in Bloomfield, Wheelhouse, which is in New Haven, New Britain, West Hill, and Stamford. And the Marines are in Wilby High School in Waterbury. So right now, those are the only schools that are provided, junior ORTC. Which is really good.
Yeah. So we were offered the opportunity, and definitely there's lots of schools that are interested. So they have a waiting list of schools that are interested, all of them, Marine, Army, Navy, and Air Force. Just a little bit update on Munis. Munis is moving along. I want to thank Mr. Bill Chafin and Rita, that is not here, and Geraldine, for really moving the process along. As you know, we're still dealing with Phoenix as well as we're moving to Munis, two parallel systems running at the same time. We're working very hard with Tyler Technology. We have moved we have pushed the date to March the 1st. We're planning to do January the 1st to make the conversion, but we're moving it to March the 1st, and it's because we just finished some contracts negotiation, and so we have over 150 and affiliated, well, the affiliated just received an increases, so we need to work on those. So because of that, more than 150 new employees with salary increases, we need to go ahead and move the date to March the 1st. And it's some information about attendance that I think you want to be aware. I don't know if we discussed with you or give you the information that the state of Connecticut came up with a new law on truancy and chronic absenteeism. I believe we discussed that during the retreat. And so we have taken a greater look in the district about chronic absenteeism, and we have seen an increase in attendance in our school district, September to September from last year, October, November to November. But this is due to the hard work of principals, central office, Bill Chafin. We have a district attendance team, and every school also have an attendance team, and we meet weekly. The school meet weekly. Central office, the district attendance team meet monthly to look at attendance. And so we are educating our parents. Tonight we had lots of questions from parents about attendance that didn't believe about what happened if I bring an excuse, but chronic absenteeism, excuse does not count, excuse or unexcused. And also we are attacking this in kindergarten. One of the highest grade with chronic absenteeism is kindergarten. Yes, believe it or not, in kindergarten is where we have one of the highest chronic absenteeism is in kindergarten. So this is an eye-opener for the district and for parents that said, we want kids to come to school, we want them to be in school. If they don't come to school in kindergarten and they don't develop that habit, that impact 8th grade, 9th grade, 11th, 7th grade, etc. So lots of work been done in this area, and I just want you to know about that. Controversial topic last year, so we made sure that this year all building administrators on November 8th, except for Angela Kiss that already had this training, received training and the rules and responsibilities of the HGC and the importance of the budget process. So all administrators attended. They had a 4-hour training with a Patty, can't remember Patty's name from the state. So principals and everyone is aware of the role and involvement of the HGC. That's my information for today before we move on to the teacher evaluation. Any questions?
questions? Well, thank you, Dr. Garcia.
Last year, during the entire school year, Katie referred with a committee, the PDEC committee, the Professional Development and Evaluation Committee, work and revising our teacher evaluation. It's really a very comprehensive work that has been done, very aligned to our mission and to our vision, well developed. But more than anything, it was very a collaborative effort of the principals, the teachers, and the teachers' union representative, and the principals' union representative, and central office representative. Lots of discussions, lots of hard work, looking at different evaluation across the country, across the state, and also following the guidelines from the state. I believe Katie did a great job in leading this process, and we have sent it to the state. We have received a lot of accolades from the state. That's the process. It goes to the state. The state take a look at it, send it back and say need to be revised or not to be revised, and then we bring it to you. So we have sent it to the state. We receive a lot of accolades from the state. I believe this is one of the best that they have seen. And so Katie's here tonight to give you some highlights of the new teacher evaluation, teacher and administrator evaluation. Katie? It's in your packet. We gave you the full-blown in your packet. She's, okay.
Yes.
Go ahead, Katie.
So, hi, everybody. I'm really excited to be here. I don't know if you'll meet somebody as jazzed about teacher and administrator evaluation as me, but I am very passionate about it. I'd like to really thank Dr. Garcia for really having this position be part of our district, because she really had the foresight to see that many districts are going in this direction, and I really do think that it's helped our teachers and our students and our district overall all around. So that guidance and leadership has been amazing. So, teacher and administrator evaluation. I'm going to go through the committee first. So we had some amazing members on our committee who were able to work collaboratively together. We had representatives from the administrators union, from the teachers union, and we all collectively reached mutual agreement on all parts of our document, and we had some amazing conversations. So as you can see on the chart, we had our superintendent, we had some central office administrators, we had Angela Kiss, our administrator union president, we had Randall Prose, our teacher union president, and we had representatives from different types of teaching positions within the district. So it was really exciting to have this great array of people working on the professional development and evaluation committee. So some of the big changes that happened for our plan this year is we actually reduced the plan from 85 pages to 41 pages because we wanted to be really concise about what we were saying and what we wanted to see happening. And we really view this 41-page document as a very usable document now. I see more and more people using it and referring to it and going back to it because it's very concise and it says what we want to have happen. We're actually really proud of the rubric work that we did. We took the framework that the state had for the teacher rubric, the support specialist rubric, and the leadership rubric, and we actually customized it to Windham, and we're going to continue doing that every year. We were able to provide examples of what we would see in classrooms and evidence, as you can see in the rubrics. And this year, Dr. Garcia is going to take us through even more exercises to even further make sure that it's aligned to all of our initiatives and things like that. So all 4 of those rubrics we're very proud of, and we got a lot of accolades about those. We actually have the rating terms of, so there's 4 levels in teacher evaluation, and as we know, a level doesn't always just equate to what a teacher is at the end of the day, but we have these rating systems. We have exemplary, we had proficient, developing, and not meeting standard. In Windham, we actually chose to change the term proficient to the term accomplished, and that was actually more of a mindset shift. It just, for a few years, proficient just kind of had a negative feeling to a lot of the teachers, and just by changing that term, it really helped people to just become more part of this process. We defined who our support specialists are, so we have our classroom teachers, and then we have our special education teachers, we have our reading teachers, our academic coaches, our instructional consultants, so we made sure that they had a specific rubric towards what they do. We defined or attempted to define mutual agreement. That's something that we're still going to work on honing in more. And we added clarification about complementary evaluators. So we have People like our Assistant Director of Pupil Services can come in and do informal evaluations on some of the special education teachers, which really helps to get those types of feedback. We have a process for requesting an alternate evaluator in case a teacher for some reason just didn't feel like things were working out and they weren't getting the fair shake. We updated our dispute resolution process, which I can tell you we didn't have to go to last year, but you always have to have these processes in case there is a concern. We revised our pre and post questions for formal observations so that they're more reflective and so that teachers really can comment on, how things went. We added a section about, we have teachers going on maternity leave or leaves of absences and things like that, and all of their work gets prorated. So if they're gone for half of the year, we're going to reduce the amount of observations or things that they're required to have. We made clear that the observations that teachers receive are the minimum number of observations, but at the end of the day, we want to make sure that teachers get all of the feedback that they're going to need to improve their craft, to increase student achievement. And we clarified informal support plans, which actually I think we're starting to turn a corner that informal support plans aren't looked at as scary. They're really there to help people be their best teacher. I'm really lucky because I've gotten to work with a lot of teachers in this capacity, and it's really exciting to see light bulbs go on and people start changing their practices. And once people are hired in Windham Public Schools, it's an investment that we have in them, and we want teachers to succeed. None of this is a got you process. It's a process to help teachers be their best. So those are some of our key changes that happened that we were really excited about. We went over our mission and vision for what teacher evaluation in Windham Public Schools is supposed to be. And it's really facilitating that professional growth and the collaboration to help make teachers be their most effective and to help make leaders be their most effective, because leaders and teachers and students, it all plays into one another. We all need to be successful. So we were very happy with that. Mutual agreement. So this was our stab, the committee stab, at trying to come up with a definition of mutual agreement, which the state actually, they were like, wow, you guys really attempted that, because most districts actually don't have a definition of mutual agreement. And we finally were like, okay, we need to try to define what this means. So we call it a joint venture between evaluator and evaluatee to reach an agreement on a rigorous and reasonable proposal. And the evaluator and evaluatee will work collaboratively towards achieving this proposal. And again, every attempt at compromise and at the lowest level possible is what we expect to see happening. The components of the teacher evaluation process are essentially 50% of a teacher's rating is based on their performance and practice, which is their observations. Teachers have informal observations, which are quick pop-ins, maybe 15, 20 minutes. And then they have more formalized observations where they have to submit a lesson plan. And then 10% of that 50% is a parent goal. So a teacher might decide to work on increasing parent communication, and they're going to show the different strategies that they're going to use to do that. The other half of their rating is student growth and development. So those are their goals that are based on data. So we're looking at the growth of the student achievement. So one of the goals that all teachers have is the benchmarks, because those are really showing the growth that the students are making. And then there's a whole school learning indicator, which is 5%. So then all of that makes up their 100% of their total rating. This is just a very quick overview of the teacher evaluation rubric. We're really excited because all of our rubrics this year have 4 domains, which is exciting because last year we had one that had 6 and one that had 5 and one, leadership, specialists, teachers all have 4 domains. Within those domains, there's indicators and then there's attributes. So it really gets into the descriptor levels. And domain 1 is essentially about classroom environment and engagement. 2 is all about the lesson planning process and thinking about data when you're lesson planning. 3 is really about the instruction and the delivery of that instruction. And 4 is all of the professional capacities that teachers work in, their leadership, things that they do outside of the classroom. And then we were excited because we have the support specialist rubric. So this is more specific towards people who are a reading interventionist or an academic coach. And the term learner is in the rubric all the time because that could mean you're working with an adult or a student, because depending on your role, it could depend. So they were actually really happy with this because it really has more to do with what they're doing. And again, the 4 domains. Then we come over to the administrator evaluation. Again, very closely linked. They have half of their evaluation, just like teachers. 40% is their leadership practice. That's the observations that are happening of them in leadership capacities. And 10% is the parent goal. And then the other 50% is, again, student learning. So they're setting these broad goals for student achievement in their schools. And then 5% is teacher effectiveness. And then this is their rubric with the 4 domains, which is instructional leadership, talent management, recruiting, hiring, getting in the talent, organizational systems, and culture and climate. And the leadership does feel that this really aligns more to what they're doing. And, Dr. Garcia gave lots of great feedback on this one, which we were able to hone it in. So that is really the overview, very briefly, of this entire process. And again, I'm very excited about it. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Can I say something for the question? Sure. I do want to thank Katie that has done a fantastic job all year long with this process. So I want to thank her. As you can see, we have what I think is an outstanding, not only process, but document for teacher and principal evaluation. So Katie, thank you very much. And the team has done a fantastic job.
Thank you.
What are, I'm sorry. I'm interested to know, what are teachers reporting? What are their comments about restructuring and making it sounds to me like it's more simple, easy to understand.
Well, I mean, something that I really love about my role is I get to be in all 7 schools, which is I get to talk to a lot of people, and I've worked one-on-one with over 80 teachers, and I've heard from a lot of people. Overall, I'm hearing that they feel that it's more honed in, it's more focused, they know what they need to do. The training has been provided for them because I was able to do whole district training, made myself available. Principals receive training and are supporting the teachers. So overall, I heard they really like the rubrics. That's the thing I've heard the most about. They like the different online processes that we've updated and switched. So I've really received very positive feedback overall. And things that people had questions or concerns, the PDAC committee's meeting this year to hone in on those and make it even better for the following year.
Mrs. Lemon.
Thank you, Katie. Is someone monitoring, I don't know which way to direct this, so towards you because you're giving the presentation. Is someone monitoring that teachers are regularly being observed and evaluated, or will it all happen in the spring, or?
So I've created teacher trackers for every administrator. So I've put every teacher on a cycle. So they have that, and it tells exactly what each teacher needs every year. So it's like green if they need to do an informal for them this year, and then the teachers know what cycle they're on. So it's very transparent, whereas maybe a couple of years ago people were a little more confused about what they needed. So I think that keeps it organized. And then I also do audits, so I can kind of check on, just that everything's done. And
this is exactly how you were as a teacher, exactly.
Yes. So, it's exciting to see it.
Can you send us your presentation to the board?
Sure.
The one that she gave today?
Sure.
Just because I'm trying to keep up with both of them.
Not a problem. We get it to the
And they
board.
didn't flow together well, so if you don't mind.
Sure.
Thank you.
And just to follow up with that question, and then when I meet with the principals, and there are 3 regular meetings during the year, they bring to me the evaluation of their teacher observation. They bring example of good observation and evaluation, example of one that needs improvement or concern. So I do get to see those also. I don't get to see all the teachers in the district, impossible, but I do ask them for samples of what they have done.
Mr. Montalvo?
Yeah, what I like is a very uniform across the school system. So it doesn't matter you are in elementary school or the high school, you know what is expected of you. It's very concise, so congratulations.
Thank you.
I like it.
Thank you.
Mr. Kalaja?
Question?
I'm sorry. I didn't see.
It all sounds like a wonderfully positive process that you've generated. in the course of your feedback, I had gotten, of course, far narrower sampling in conversation over the past in different venues. Do you have a sense that the majority of teachers you've had contact with have a sense that it's a more equalizing, a more equitable, and sensible process and system for them? They feel more comfortable with it?
I do get that sense that, it really is more equitable, because again, we really tried to look at every position and what each, what an instructional consultant is doing, what an interventionist is doing, what a classroom teacher is doing. And although we'll never be able to totally equate it, I think it's a lot closer than it was before, that people are being held accountable for the different pieces that their role requires.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Dr. Gomez?
Yes. In each, you have 4 domains, right? Do they weight the same 25%? Is there a scale on which they are measured quantitatively, or how does it work?
So what happens is, throughout the course of the year, a teacher or an administrator on either of the rubrics is rated in various pieces of the rubric. You might not be rated in every single attribute, but you will have enough ratings within each of the domains, which then gives you an overall rating for each of the domains. So they're not weighted a certain way, but overall, when you look at the overall of each domain, that gives you a rating of their entire practice on a 4, a 3, a 2, or a 1.
So you sort of move away from the Connecticut State model of having 45% of
No.
students' achievement? Or,
It's still the same. It's the same
That's what I'm
percentages.
asking about weight.
Oh, no, it's the same
Same.
percentages that the state requires. We cannot change
that.
those.
Right.
We just tried to make those percentages make the most sense we could here in Windham for our teachers, but it's the same percent as the
So
state.
after you're done, you translate into the state model, and you assign
Yes.
percentages?
Correct.
Once, whatever.
Yeah. But
Process you have.
student achievement, 45% from the state, we cannot change that.
Right.
That's,
But how is it evaluated here in this model?
well, that's evaluated by students' scores, if the teachers achieve their goal of their scores.
Is it included? Is
Yep,
it
it's in there. In your
Embedded
pocket,
in
yep,
here?
yep, it's in there. It's in the evaluation. It's in there, I can look it up page.
It's a good thing, I think. I just don't know how
It's in
we're
here.
translating to when you have done this, internally, how would you transfer that into the state model? I guess that's my question, I'm not sure.
Well,
So, yeah.
Go ahead.
The
The state
state-
require that we have the 45%.
Yeah, our percentages are the same as the state. So 45% for a teacher is student achievement. So they have to set different learning goals based, so like, for example, one is on the benchmark assessment and growing through that. So teachers have 2 SLOs, which are 2 of their goals, and within those SLOs, they have indicators. So it's not that mathematical. Basically, each indicator is rated at the end of the year based on the achievement. So if a teacher achieves their indicator by 6% or more, they get a level 4, which is advanced. Okay? And then, so you go through and rate each one of those indicators, and then it averages out if they're a 1, 2, 3, or a 4. And then that's their overall rating for student, and that's their 45%. So at the end of the day, for their 45%, they will be rated exemplary, accomplished, developing, or not meeting.
Okay. Page 16 and 36, both of them you have it, 16 and 36.
But I'm glad that you pointed that out and asked that. It definitely, we have to align it to the state seed
yeah.
model, and that's to get approved for that part.
Dr. Su?
Yeah, we do sort of. I've been trained as a statistician. I find that whole process amusing. But what's controversial at both the state and the national level is the extent to which high-stakes testing imposes rigidities on the educational process. And it sounds like you've got an evaluation system here that is not so tightly connected to high-stakes testing, which, if that is the case, is a good thing. But what we would want to know eventually is, there's the Lake Wobegon criteria where all of our teachers are above average. So you do want to have a connection between the rankings of teachers and the performance of students overall. I don't know that, there are lots of arguments why trying to connect that to individual teachers doesn't make sense. But overall, if most of your teachers are above average, then your student performance should be above average. If most of your teachers are not above average, then that might account for why student performance is not above average. But what you don't want to have happen is teachers above average and performance not above average, or vice versa. And so, are we going to get feedback on that? I'm not so interested in feedback on individual teachers. I think the idea that the purpose of this process is to help teachers become better teachers, and it's not meant to be a pejorative process. But I would like to know whether we're going to get feedback on whether or not there's a connection between student performance overall and teacher evaluations overall.
I'm actually really glad that you brought that up, because the state of Connecticut and the Department of Education is actually looking at the ratings of teachers and the connection between student achievement. So, for example, don't totally quote me on this, but I believe over 90% of Connecticut teachers are rated proficient and exemplary.
That's accurate.
So, it is being looked at on a state level to see, well, wait a minute, if they're rated this, where does that connect to, the student achievement piece? So, as far as Windham goes, we're right in line with exactly what the state is doing. And what I can say about Windham is teachers are going through a very rigorous process to earn the rating that they get. It is not just they're going through a motion of doing this. They're doing their everyday teaching to show the learning that's happening. So, again, it goes back to, we can't totally equate that a teacher's, proficient or exemplary, and that's how they are. But yes, more often than not, if they're getting those scores, it should equate to the student achievement. And that is something that it is being looked at on a state level, and it's a very, very good question.
And
And the national level, yeah. So,
Well, it doesn't make sense that if 90% of the teachers are proficient or exemplary, that the students are performing as poorly as the students are. Something is, that's the case where all of our teachers are above average, which is not realistic. But I don't want to pin it down to individual teachers, but and given where this district is, what we're really looking at mostly is rates of improvement more than absolute scores. So if our teachers are effective, the students ought to be gaining ground. And if they're gaining ground, we'll get there.
May not be there to see that, but.
Well, I think, and that's what the state have proposed, and it's the growth model. And I think teachers have embraced the growth model. We have embraced the growth model. And I think one of the issues is that how we continue to strengthen instruction. Once we strengthen instruction in the classroom, then we will see that students will be able to grow. The key to this is instruction in the classroom. As to that, I was speaking to parents, the other issue is they need to be in school. They need to come to school. If they're not in school, they can't learn. That's why attendance is a very important issue for us. But the key is instruction, how they reach each kid, how to reach all kids, and teacher constantly developing new strategies to reach all kids. This is the urban school district, and I always said it, in the urban school district, our repertoire needs to be different. In order to achieve equity, we have to give more than what we normally give in other school districts. And so that's why for us, this year and last year, we focused on ELA a lot, and you see the result on ELA. This year's in math. We'll continue to focus. Instruction is the key to really making sure that all teachers that are accomplished and effective, the kids are also accomplished and effective.
Thank you.
Great job,
Thank you.
Kitty. Good job.
Thank you so much. Next on our agenda is the reports, committee reports. Dr. Su, Finance and Audit Committee.
Okay, the Finance and Audit Committee has not met since our last meeting. I was hoping Mr. French would be here tonight because the ad hoc committee on the Combined Finance Department did have a meeting that I attended. And they are planning to recommend that a consultant be engaged to professionally design the jobs in the kind of thing that you've talked about Mr. Kalajian, who has some knowledge and expertise in the area of job design and labor, has pointed out that having professional design is likely to lead to a satisfactory environment for union employees and an office that actually functions. And so there's going to be a recommendation coming out of that committee that we'll see and that the town council will see to do that.
Thank you, Dr. Soul. School planning and design, Mr. Kalajian?
School planning and design did not meet recently. We really had nothing on the agenda because we were waiting on the district in the RFQ process, and that is, as Dr. Garcia recently told me, has been completed, and the next step will be the putting together a committee to select those contractors and put together the evaluation process of those contractors. So that's the next step that we're going to be working on, and when we get there, we'll communicate all that to everyone.
Thank you. Policy Committee, Mr. Flores?
Sorry, I'm losing my voice. We have a couple policies that we're working on it, and as well a couple policies that we're returning to the committee to have it discussed on December 22nd, which is the next meeting.
Thank you. And the Executive Committee has not met. We were scheduled to meet. We've canceled that meeting. It was scheduled for tomorrow. You should have gotten the notice today. And next on the agenda is action items.
Madam Chair, may I?
Yes.
Before we look at the discipline policy, Mrs. Lazar did brought a request to discuss an item on the policy committee. But since the policy committee's meeting have not met and the meeting on the 22nd, I would like to request that that policy be postponed. I know this is the second reading, but Mrs. Lazar have asked to put an item for discussion on that policy. So we'll bring that policy back, Mr. Flores, on the 22nd. So if that policy may be postponed,
Certainly.
the policy committee. I mean, I'm sorry,
The
the discipline policy. Okay.
So it's going back to committee.
It's going back to policy committee on the 22nd.
Correct.
Okay.
That's C.
That's C on your agenda.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I also would like to add, and I noticed that in the last meeting minutes, Mrs. Lambert questioned the amount that volunteers on the volunteer agenda, the policy, there's a charge for anyone that, it's strictly a charge for background check. And I believe the charge is $35 that they have to pay, each individual. And that's only to protect, do a background check, but that is the responsibility of the individual to pay, not the districts.
And I think that's punitive. In both the teacher evaluation, we have parent participation. In our strategic plan, we have family, community, parent participation. We want them to be involved in our schools, and for some people, a meal is an expense too far away, which then puts paying $35 or more, because depending on the level of involvement they want to have, they have to be fingerprinted, it can rise up over $100. That is putting the opportunity to volunteer in your student's school out of a lot of our parents' hands in a time when we are supposed to be encouraging more community and parent involvement.
The volunteer policy in the school does not require the fingerprinted,
Right.
only the DCF reporting, and that's free. The fingerprinting is for anyone that will go on an overnight field trip,
Right.
like DC or Spain, et cetera. And I think that costs right now, Geraldine, how much, $33? $33 for that.
33?
Yeah, so what we're recommending here in the policy is that for any activity in school, like is DCF reporting, for any activity overnight, where they will go to DC or Philadelphia or Spain, or then they do the fingerprinting.
And that's every year that they have to pay?
Yes,
No.
it's a year, yes, it's a
It's a
yearly
yearly?
thing. You have to
Yearly
be
is yearly?
fingerprinted every year.
Every yearly?
I believe it's yearly.
I'm on two boards of
So-
directors that deal with children, and I have to
Yeah,
be
it's yearly.
fingerprinted
So
and
if
checked
you-
every
If you
year.
want to volunteer next year, then you have to go through the whole process again.
It
Which
would
is
make
it?
sense to do it every year, because things could happen in between.
Things change.
And we
Fingerprints
have to
don't
protect
change.
children.
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah. Fingerprints don't change, but our goal is to protect kids.
I absolutely agree, but I do agree that getting people to volunteer and be involved in our schools is already difficult enough without putting that overarching expense on them.
So I said, are they going to put some money in the budget to cut the cost of some of these? I don't know how many parents are interested. So far, we have not received any request from any parent to do this, because as I said, volunteering in the school locally, they don't have to. So we have not received any requests, but we're going to put some money in the budget. But I'll have to wait till the board approve the policy, and once the policy is approved, then we can put some type of protocol in place for distribution of funds.
Mr. Flores?
Well, I was going to say a few things. It was on, the policy we was talking is only for out of town.
Right.
And out of state most of all, because usually they have teachers, we don't need to worry about, they already been through the background. But most of all for, more like Dr. Garcia say, out of the country, and say it's just to protect all of them. But most of all, you get like 3, depends on how many students they go, maybe 2 or 3 chaperones. So 2 or 3 chaperones won't be too expensive, and usually it'll be minimal 3 or 4. They're not going to be no more than 3 or 4.
I don't see there's any reason that.
It's
the
not a
district can't
large
absorb
money.
that.
Yeah,
Right,
it's
that's
not a
why
large
I'm saying,
money.
I don't think that there's a reason the district can't absorb that.
Right, and that's why we're working in the policy, but first we have to put the policy in place to find the money. We discussed the money, because that was my concern for the district.
So if they go out of state, they have to go through that too, right?
Out of the state, most of it's out of
Not only
state.
out of the country, but out of the state also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the most of us, they are overnight, when they go out of state, a lot
Oh,
of the
not
time.
really, not really.
So
I mean, you
what-
can go to Strawberry Village, which is in Massachusetts there. Okay, it's right there in the border, but you don't have to stay overnight, so you have to come back. But then you have to go through the process because it's in another state.
No,
Yeah.
overnight,
Even though you-
Overnight.
Overnight.
Only overnight.
Specify overnight.
Overnight,
Okay.
yeah.
Dr., I'm sorry, Mr. Kalaja?
Not yet.
Not you.
In the course of Mrs. Lambert's concern is certainly well-founded, I think, especially in this community. And if, I like processes that think a little outside the box, so if we in fact believe that it will be a negative to encourage participation of our chaperones and parents, then I think it behooves us to think a little bit outside the box in terms of finding the money, not strictly from budget, but can we collaborate with the police department, with the town council, to fund that specific expense? And then create a fund for that, to cover it, so that no matter who our parents are who volunteer, they can be assured that that won't be an out-of-pocket expense for them.
I'm pretty sure PTO will be a great, a great place to do a lot of fundraising that can help.
Sure. I mean, so I think as a community, we can find a way, certainly, to defer that specific kind of thing to encourage participation.
How much are we talking about?
Well, we don't know. So,
Yeah, those are
Around
unknown.
$35.
Yeah, but how much? I mean, because, we have a budget of 47 million or something like that. We're talking about $2,000.
so, hold on.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's precisely the question. I think before we get too wrapped up in this, we need to find out what kind of money we're looking at,
Right.
because if we only need 10 parents at $35, it's $350.
Yeah,
That's
this is
in a $60 million budget, that gets lost in the round-off error. Come on, we can cover that.
Yeah.
But it seems to, I think there is a question of not wanting to provide a disincentive.
Right, exactly.
Okay? So there's a couple of ways around, if it's not very much money, let's just put it in the budget.
May I say
and find a
something
way to
before
pay
you go any
for it.
further? The policy, though, says accompanying any class on a field trip in which plans include that students be divided into small groups supervised solely by the volunteer chaperone for any length of time. I've taken kids to
Yeah.
Big E, I've taken kids to Mystic Aquarium.
But
I've
I
taken
wasn't
kids
finished, by the
everywhere.
way.
No, I'm just saying, this makes it a larger pool than just 10 or 15 parents over the course of a school year doing an
Well-
overnight. This makes it a much larger pool than what.
But that is the question
Right.
to be asked, is how big a pool are we talking about, right? That's one thing. The other thing is, if we have a fund, and the question is, the fund isn't big enough to cover everybody, there's a couple of ways of dealing with that. You can prorate it, you can try and establish eligibility based on need, or you can ask parents to volunteer to pay if they can afford it, otherwise the district would pay. For example, if I was doing it, I wouldn't want the district to have to pay $35 for me if it was going to mean that some other parent
Right.
who is less well-off economically wouldn't be able to get $35, right? So there are a number of ways that some parents could be asked to pay and other parents not asked to pay, depending on need. But let's find out how big a problem we're dealing with, because if this works out to be the level of the amount of money you can raise in a bake sale, then let's let the PTO handle it.
Yeah,
But-
this is not a big issue.
Those are the issue the community discussed, and we're looking in a way what we can do for to raise that money. But first, we had, like Dr. Garcia said, we have to place the policy,
And-
they
and-
move for the next.
Yeah.
It so depends how many trips they have. It's not,
The policy is basically mandated by the state, isn't it?
Yeah, this is mandated by the
Yeah.
state.
So we're going to have the
Right.
the requirement. The question is, how do we fund it? And then-
right.
and that,
And that'll be the next step after the
Okay.
policy is in place.
well, we're developing a budget, and we'll look
Steps,
into it.
little steps, not this one.
Yes, right,
Dr.
fine.
Gomez?
This is a question, okay? Do most field trips, do most parents are always the same? I mean, usually in a community or something, you have some people that volunteer, like 3, 4, 5, every field trip. Is it the same in Windham? I don't know, for field trips, are parents mostly the same?
You have some parents that are the usual parents that
Yeah,
go to
that
field
they
trips.
always go.
And you have parents that sometimes, are new parents, but you have some that are usual.
Yeah, there's
Usually
some-
it's the school that the kid attended.
Yeah, yeah.
Usually. I
Yeah.
mean, some parents have kid in three
Yeah.
schools, so of course take advantage and
I
chaperone the
I
three
was just
schools.
wondering, how difficult would it be just to get an average for the past 4 years? You know,
You know-
that shouldn't even be a big deal.
I do want to say, this is, I don't want to put a big deal, but this is not a big issue. We'll be able to deal with this. Once you guys approve the policy, this is something we can work out. Believe me, this is not going to be a big issue.
So can I have a point of order here? Before we get too far into the debate, can we actually
Get
get
a motion.
a
Get a
motion on the table?
Yeah.
So I move that we approve the revised volunteer policy 1160.
Second.
Now,
You got it, buddy.
discuss away.
I think if I may answer Dr. Gomez, while you guys are, I have had kids in this school district for a while now. I think we're 16 or 17 years, right, Mr. Collison? And I've gone on lots of field trips, and you get, the same 5 or 6 parents, but every field trip, there's a couple new ones who had the day off, or were interested in that topic, or, their younger child had gone, or their older child had gone, so they wanted to go on this field trip. And the policy, we were talking, just chaperoning overnight field trips, but it says accompanying a class on a field trip in which the plans include that students be divided into small groups supervised solely by the volunteer chaperone for any length of time, working in direct contact with students without a direct presence of a Windham Public Schools employee, working as a student intern or coaching. Now, the student intern and coaching, I'm assuming that to some extent already takes place, I'm hoping, because those people are on buses alone with kids, sometimes if there's only 1 or 2 coaches. I would assume that those things would be going on already. But, the field trips on which plans include, any field trip I go on, I'm sure Mrs. Lassard does the same thing. You give 3 or 4 kids to a parent, and you say, check back in at 2 o'clock, or the bus meets, or we have lunch at, and then you don't see them again. So that could be a large group. If you have 20 kids in a class, and you put 3 to a kid, that's 7 parents right there. It could add up over, and that's just one field trip, you know what I'm saying? It could add up over time to the number of parents, but I don't want parents to be uninvited, because maybe we have to set parameters to every field trip for every, we have a ratio of teachers, but however many maybe second graders need 3 extra parents to go on a field trip to handle their 21 kids, or maybe we have to set parameters. The first 6 parents that volunteer are the ones that are accepted if they've done the background check. We can't take 30 parents with 30 kids on every field trip either.
Just one last question. I know that we don't want to get away, but how, I mean, are field trips or whatever, are they planned ahead, like a year ahead?
Not always a year ahead.
Not a
Kind
year
of
ahead.
most of
Not a
them.
year ahead.
But Washington.
Sometimes a couple months ahead. The Washington application, I know, has already been submitted, so I know that one's already in the works, but that is generally 2 teachers and administrators, so that's generally not parents. The trip to Spain took 2 parents. The trip to Disney 2 years ago for the band took 5, 6, 7 parents.
So there is a way to do an estimate.
Right, yes. Yeah, that should be information we can get. But I feel strongly that it's punitive to a parent to be able to say you can't go if you can't afford to pay for the fingerprinting background check. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Well, as a board member, I would say that this issue becomes a non-issue for all of us. It's something to absolutely look at, but in the scheme of things, we don't ever want to create a disincentive. So, as a board member, I will vote positively for any process that encourages our parents and staff to participate, without question. We can afford this.
Oh, yeah.
One more thing. My wife and I volunteer for my grandchildren's preschool in Massachusetts. It's not the money that's the hassle, it's the time. It's not that, you can't just say, oh, I'm going to go get fingerprinted, right? You have to go through a bureaucracy that only does fingerprinting in some locations at some times. You have to make an appointment in advance. That's, for a lot of us, that's more of a hassle than writing the check to pay for the thing, or charging it to a credit card. So if, this process is going to have to be managed about more than just the money. If parents want to say, oh, I'm interested in that topic, I want to go on that field trip, they're going to have time ahead to get their act together and get the background check done and the fingerprinting done if that's necessary. It's not something you can just jump in and do, which when my daughters were younger and they went on field trips in the school, the teacher could call up and say, hey, we got a field trip next week, will you go? And you could say yes. That's not going to work anymore.
I think that's going to have to go out with the beginning of the year packets to parents, the mailings home that says, if you intend on being involved in a field trip, blah, 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 you have to,
That's going to lower the number of people that will participate, though, let me tell you.
We don't
But
want to
that's-
discourage.
We can't help that.
Yeah, this is.
I mean, let's get the policy going and
Okay.
then they take it.
Let's go. Ready to vote? All those in favor? That's unanimous.
Okay. I move we approve the second reading of the athletic policy 5114.2.
Second.
I have to respectfully disagree with that because there's been no clarification since the last meeting on a definition of probation, which is what I asked for, to have it uniform across because the committee hasn't met yet, and I understand that. I'm not being critical of that. I asked for a clarification of the definition of probation, and I don't see that in there, and I don't want it misinterpreted or...
We haven't met since.
Right, no, I totally acknowledge that. I acknowledged it on the phone with you today, Dr. Garcia.
So would you like to move to defer?
To defer back to committee?
Sure, I will be happy to move to defer back to committee until a definition of probation is included in the policy.
I will second that.
That's perfectly fine.
Okay.
Make the motion.
I make a motion to defer the policy
Yeah.
51142, the athletic policy, back to committee for amendment with the definition of probation, please.
Second.
All those in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We've already decided to, unless,
Yes, that's going back to
we've already
committee.
decided to defer C.
Mhm.
So I recommend approving the Board of Education meeting dates, both the Board of Education business and workshop meetings for 2017 and the Board of Education committee meeting dates for 2017.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you, that's unanimous. And action Item E.
Seems to be my night to move things. I move approval of personnel recommendations in reference 4.
We need a second.
Second.
Dr. Gomez, second. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. And we need to add another item on the action. It is the teacher and administration evaluation plan that was not put on the agenda, so.
I motion we add to the agenda the teacher evaluation plan, teacher and administrator evaluation plan as presented tonight by Katie Firth and included in our packet.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Lambert.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Wait.
Oops.
Okay, yeah, all right,
Yes.
fine.
Yeah, we've discussed it.
Discussion?
Wait,
Yeah.
yeah, that's all we've done is
Yeah.
added it
That's
to
all
the
we've done.
agenda, right.
We
So,
added
it.
thank you.
That would be F, correct?
Yeah.
That would be F, correct.
So now you need a vote,
Comes after E.
Yes. All those in favor?
Yep.
This is
just to add it to the agenda.
Okay.
That's unanimous.
Yes, I know.
And now we need to vote on the,
No, we just voted on that, now we have to actually vote.
No.
And I make a
Aye.
motion to approve
There
the
you go.
teacher and administrator evaluation as presented tonight and included in our packet.
Second.
all those in favor? That's unanimous. Oh,
I'm abstaining.
Mrs. Lazard is abstaining.
Appropriately.
I'm a teacher.
Absolutely. She's a new guy.
Thank you. Any, next on the agenda is public comment. Mr. Lazard.
And here you go, now he's going to get you in trouble, Melissa.
Thank you very much, Mike Lazard, South Windham. It is hard sitting there as a teacher, and you want to say stuff sometimes. But I want to speak about the evaluation system a little bit, because I think as an educator from the high school lens, any good teacher or coach is going to reflect all the time. Whenever something's so good, what's wrong with it? What can we fix? So we heard all the great things about it, and there's some things I was thinking about, and I'm not saying they're definitely true. I just think they're probably true. For equality, she was talking about equality, and we are getting much better looking across the board at all different levels. I do think as a high school teacher, it seems like at least it could be a little more rigorous towards us naturally, because we don't have 20 students in it over a year. We have like 100 students for half a year, and some of those change. And our assessments are going to be a lot more detailed, that we're going to be judged for each thing that we hand in and put into our evaluation. So we're still working on ways to do that, but I understand that. Also, the administrators are working very hard to make sure they're uniform in the way they're judging teachers. I've had some in the past that were very difficult, and I've had some that were much easier. Now, we have a new crew in here this year. I know they're working very hard, and I'm sure that will continue to be fixed. And I know Ms. Firth is working with them. Dr. Sewell, my second thing I want to talk about was the 90% proficient. There was 4 things I want to say about that, just to think about. Number 1 would be, I think whenever you have a master's degree in any field, you probably, in any business, I would guess around 90% are doing a pretty good job at it, and there'll be some that aren't, obviously. So maybe that's a hair high. I don't think it's way off base, The second thing I would say about why are we having so many accomplished teachers when our scores are low? Again, in the high school, that can be difficult for us because when they get to us, we can show great growth, and they're not anywhere at the level they should be for a high school. I can't speak to the lower ones, but we did bring up attendance, where kindergarten had a high chronic absentee rate. And if we're going from 30% missing 18 days of school or more a year to 25% with some improvement, that still is going to affect me and their scores overall. And the last thing to say about that, and then I'll get out of your hair, would be young teachers. We have a lot of young teachers in the district. I don't know how they look at, I don't know, because of course me being in 15th year, I should be good. I don't know if I am or not, but I should be. I'm accomplished, I think. But
Always a dangerous word.
or proficient. I feel better now, though. But young teachers in their first year can be great teachers. I think our history department has Ms. Barrows doing a great job, but she's still a first-year teacher, so maybe she won't be as good as she'll be in 5 years, so will the students have that same growth? Just things to think about. I appreciate your time, and thank you. Have a nice night.
Thank you, Mr. Lazard. We do not have any, we don't have an executive session tonight, so
Also adjourn?
move to adjourn.
Oh, he's in order.
Can I make an announcement?
Yes, of course.
Okay, there, for those of you, the Connecticut Mirror, okay, has an interesting article today, which is called "When Poverty Permeates the Classroom," and it's written by Jacqueline Ray Thomas, which is
The Mirror?
Yes.
City Mirror. I think it's very interesting. Some of the they have Windham in there and some other schools.
Yeah.
Districts like Bristol. It's
Yeah.
a very interesting article because it's very pertinent to our situation.
To our district. Well, thank you.
Okay.
I also want to say that our district lost a great teacher, Mrs. Kathy Pekarovic, who was in our district over 30 years.
30 years, 33 years.
She
33
touched the lives of a lot of young mothers. She provided a lot of support to these young mothers even after high school. They left high school. So I just want to send my condolences to the family. It was a great loss to our district.
Beautiful
So I just-
person.
Yes, she was a beautiful person, and her family, both of her daughters are teachers. So, yes. So my sympathy to the family and my condolences. So, all adjourned?
Okay, so
Thank you.
we're having a meeting next Friday, Wednesday. 'Cause I need this-